Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in. Alongside, hey, alongside my colleague Jan from New York City Saves Money. She's alongside with me this afternoon. You guys,
Hey,
you guys
Steve.
know
Hi,
who's.
everybody.
Hey, um, what I wanted, I thought of a good subject matter. I don't think I or we have spoken about this before, but I think it needs to be addressed because I'm sure it applies to a lot of us. It has to do with avoiding polite confrontation.
Yes,
So, do
yes,
you do you by chance happen to have any that
yes,
come to mind? You
yes,
do.
yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, Steve. Hi, everybody. So nice to be here again. Hope everybody's doing well as always. I'm just like everybody else. We're human. We wake up, we want our coffee, want to get the job done, go to work, be successful as much as we can. This is where I feel most people fall into that category. But one thing that I believe is extremely individualistic is our perception or tolerance level of how much we are actually our authentic selves without someone else trying to. There used to be a song about that, and I can't get into it because of copyright and stuff, but about making me over way back in the early 60s. And it is so true. One of the most difficult things in the world is to have a friend or a family member or anyone that you know in your life or coworker. Some people mean well, some people, I don't know where it comes from, but it's almost as if they're dismissive about what might be important to you as a person, as your personal agenda. And if you come across that type of situation long enough, either one is going to stuff their feelings down forever and just not say a word, not to, as they say, upset the apple cart, so to speak. Ever hear that expression, Steve, or anyone? And that could go on a little while, but at the end of the day, that is really not a good or healthy thing to do or healthy way to live. I feel this way that it comes from having difficulty sometimes saying the word no. I used to be that way. One of my dear friends years ago said, Jan, I know you well enough and long enough to say there is something you have a little problem with. This is years ago. I have since totally changed since then. You have difficulty saying no. And I look back because I do recall struggling with saying no. So, not that long ago, I noticed that a lot of my business schedule was getting a little flip flop with people who weren't recognizing I work from home. Now, just because, and I say this all the time, Steve, just because a person works from home doesn't mean they are not working. I need time, even like, let's say, in reference to my videos, I need time to consider the topic. I need time to research my notes. I just don't come up with numbers. I research my notes. And then I create a show. And it, as Steve knows, it is a step by step process. And I heard somewhere, Steve, believe it or not, that some people, if they're interrupted with like their train of thought interrupted by a silly interruption, it might take a writer or a content creator or anybody trying to figure something out like that using their brain about 20 minutes to refocus and get back on track on the topic. So finally, I decided that I'm going to draw some boundary lines and not worry so much if I will not accept the phone call. I have to get the jobs done. When my business day is over, anything that is not pertinent to business, I will allow that leisure time and have those phone calls, for example. And my friend back about 20 years ago was 100% correct. But I never forgot that day, Steve. And I totally, like, I go back to it after I recognize when I'm starting to feel worn out, that's a sign that there's something going on. And I examined what happened with me of the ones that were not recognizing that my time is just as valuable as others. And I know we've actually discussed that on other videos, but this is a step further in being able not only to recognize that our time is just as valuable as others, But taking it that step further, if you have to draw the boundary, if you have to use the word no, be polite about it and don't try to avoid the polite confrontation. Henceforth, the title. How do you feel about that, Steve?
Well, here's what I do. Once upon a time, this was years back, maybe my teens, I can't remember. Do keep in mind, I'll start with this. Most people say, nah, Steve, no, you're not. Most people don't see it. I'm actually an introvert. I'm not really what you call an extrovert. They say, well, how are you an introvert? You come on YouTube almost, what, 3 or 4 days a week and put up a video. How are you an introvert? I said, YouTube is one thing. How I act and what I do in my everyday living is another. So, yeah, I agree with you. You do have to put your foot down and say, I'm sorry, but the answer is no, I can't. Everybody has the right to say that. I mean, you can't always be, I'll just use this term, but you'll know where I'm going with it. You can't always be a yes man, yes, yes, yes. You can't. There's going to be times in your life, where you have to say, I can't do it. Because you have other obligations. But I myself, as I got a little older, I'm going to come back to, when I was a teen, I jumped away from that briefly. There was a time I would kind of shy away. But as I got a little older, middle, late 20s, 30s, well, in my 30s, I found myself. I mean, I went through a lot of, physical, mental changes. I don't run away from things now. If it's something that I have to face up to, I will confront the person and say, "Hey, what's going on? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did you say this? Why did you say that?" No, no, no. I won't run away from the situation, because if you run away, how can how can the other person know? We're not a mind reader. Um, Not only are we not a mind reader, although it'd be nice if we could, but you know, how how do you not know if not running your mouth, communication is key? If you don't speak up and say something, how can you better the situation? Because they can't know. But
True.
right, like another thing I wanted to touch on as well. I've said it to all of you subscribers out there. Most of you know, most of you that don't, that are oncoming. I have a condition called tuberous sclerosis. Okay. That explains, the what you see on my face. I got it on the back of my neck. I got some on my abdomen. I have two tumors in the back of both eyes. I'm legally blind in my right. I'm 2400 over here. Is it fixable? Unfortunately, no, because of some hemorrhaging and bleeding, it washed away some tissue. So from that, somehow I created a cataract. Now my normal optometrist, where I go for an eye exam, he doesn't want to mess with anything because he does not want to wake a sleeping bear. And I get that, because you don't want to antagonize the tumor. Well, just recently, I had to go to an ophthalmologist because my right eye was bothering me. Come to find out, it was just an allergic reaction. Well, when it comes to my eyes, I just can't. Well, nobody should take any chances because it's the only set you have. But in my case, because this is all I've really got going for me, I went, saw the doctor. Come to find out, it's just an allergic reaction. Just get some hydrocortisone cream, which I've been doing, and apply it to the top of the eyelid because it's got a little bit of pink redness up there, twice a day for about 4 or 5 days. So I've been doing that. The eye does feel better. So, you know, I don't I don't agree with people judging others, like in my case with the tuberous sclerosis. Ah, Steve, There's nothing wrong with you. You're fine. You can do this. You can do that. No, I can't. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't realize I have limitations. What limitations is that? I can't be out in the sun, because these can break and bleed. It can cause the bone underneath the face to hurt. Then I got to get cold compresses and lay it across. I just can't because I have sensitive skin based on, my condition. So yeah, I do have an affliction. People don't always want to believe that. Matter of fact, I've got a family member who will remain anonymous. I've known this person for going on 40 years. I've known this person since 1984. He doesn't accept the fact I've got something wrong. It is a he. He does not accept the fact that I have something wrong with me. In fact, he was also one of the people that put me down over the years as I was coming up and said that I would never amount to anything or I couldn't do anything. One of the things he did mention, Steve, he can't go to private school. He's not cut out to go to private school. Want to bet? I went for 2 years. My junior high years, that period, that's when I went. So you actually, let me rephrase that, and part of my a little bit high school. So you can't judge a book by its cover. You just can't. You look at
No.
it, and a lot of people do, and I don't like that. And when somebody says something to me that I don't like and I happen to catch it, but you better believe if I get an opportunity, I will go up to the person and say, "Hey, I need to stop you. I need to correct you. This is what's going on. This is how it is." Oh, no, no. I'm not afraid to face my demons. Well,
Bingo. That is key, Steve. That is
yeah,
exactly what we're putting in a nutshell. That is
yeah,
polite confrontation. You didn't decide to bottle that up. You didn't decide to let something like that fester. Because if a person, oh, they'll hold that in, they'll hold that in, that in. Then all of a sudden it's up to here. It's coming from your face, out of your throat, and everywhere. All of this upsetment, not you personally,
that's right.
anyone in the world,
Yeah,
anyone in the
yeah,
world. No, I'm glad for you that you did that because when my friend said to me 20 years ago, he said, Jan, I know you long enough to know that this was at that time. At this time, one or two things will happen. Either I give the person a silent treatment, or this is me just saying, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, or at some point when I feel better, I let myself decompress. Then I'll say in a sweeter way, well, why don't we not do this, or that? Always sweet, always polite. You don't have to be like antagonistic about it.
oh no, no, you don't. No, but because of what I dealt with, and like I said, I've got about 4 or 5 videos that I did a few months back, earlier in the year, as a matter of fact, I believe, maybe even late last year. I don't remember the exact time frame that I did it, but it's been 7, 8, 9 months in that ballpark. I did about a 4 or 5 part segment about me coming up, what I dealt with. It's all there. I mean, it. I pretty much opened up and just let everybody know, hey, this is who Steve Young is. This is where he's been. This is where he's at.
Good
So
series.
yeah, and it got a good view count. I mean, it got some good watch. But it's there. If any of you that are new to being a subscriber to me that would like to check that out, just scroll back. It's definitely in there. And
The moral of my story is that
yeah,
I am glad and grateful that I had a real friend 20 years back. He's no longer around. Had a real friend 20 years back that said what they said nicely to me. And they said, the person, he said, you're just trying to avoid confrontation. And then he listed a few instances. And I was like, you're right. Sometimes other people can see things about someone else that even they can't see. But
that's true.
thankfully he was such a nice, sweet person and friend. And then I took it from there. That was when I was able to tell this coworker that kept borrowing money. I've done many videos about that. thanks to that encouragement, if anybody watching is at that point where they really need to, like, nicely, always be nice, there's no reason not to, but do state your case.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but I do want to say this. He's not a subscriber, and quite frankly, I don't want him to be a subscriber. The person that said that I couldn't go to private school, well, what it boils down to is this right here. Because I went to private school, keep in mind, this is also a person that told me that I wouldn't amount to anything.
Terrible.
Well, guess what? Yeah, I dropped out of high school in ninth grade. Yes, I did. But guess what? 3 years later, which would have still been the same year I would have graduated, 93, in 93, I went down and took the GED test and I passed it the first time. I didn't have to study. Now, I want to say thank you to that person for saying that I could not go to private school because I wasn't cut out for it. It was hard. It was hard. It was hard studies. It was definitely harder than public school. But I will say this, because of that, using that as a foundation is what allowed me to go and take the GED and pass it the first time. Because
Congrats.
thank you, because it is a higher level of learning. In private school, you do eat, sleep, and drink studies. There's not really a whole lot of time unless it's the off season when you're out of school to really do a whole lot. So
Steve, can I throw in a bit of ironic
Yeah.
kind of humor? Little
Mhm.
did that person that said that to you, would they have ever known that one of your close friends, and I could consider myself a close friend of yours, happens to be a former private school teacher? So,
Yes.
like, life comes full circle.
Right. So the period in which that I was in school, including the private school years for me, you were a teacher.
That's
So,
right.
because I dropped out of high school in May of 1990. So you were still, you still had one more year, but
Yeah.
still you were a teacher. So yeah, so I definitely fall as someone who could have been in your classroom. So,
That's right.
but
So the things
you
that
know,
people sometimes laugh at, it comes back right at them and boomerangs back at them.
oh, oh, I must throw this in. I must throw this in. It's not. I'm not poking fun, but I hope it doesn't come off that way because I don't. I'm not doing that. Okay, my father, who was a yeoman in the military, that particular rank is, I mean, that particular title is no more. It has to do with the office, like a. It's a more clerical. It's a. They anyway. They took the yeoman title out and it's intertwined it with something else. Well, years back, this is when this person was in college and they needed help. They needed help writing a paper for class. Well, this particular person's writing skills, probably about 20, 21 years old. Keep in mind, again, I'm not judging. I could run circles around this person at 21 over him. Got with my father and had to have my father rewrite the paper a little bit more item specific. Keep in mind, this is a person that told me I was never cut to go to private school. And what I understand, this person went to private school. Don't I feel a little bit of a disconnect there somewhere. Something doesn't add up. Something's not. But anyway, I'm not gonna point fingers. I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm just making a statement. Something just doesn't scan there. It doesn't add up. You say one thing, and yet what you're saying, you kind of did. So I don't. Yeah.
Always be yourself. Anybody watching, always be yourself, and you can do it, whatever the it may be. Ignore the naysayers. This is something that I live with all the time,
Yeah.
especially right, especially doing, being a content creator. You have to ignore even some well-meaning people. They're like, well, doing that type of thing is kind of nice, but is there really anything to it? Yeah, there is something to it. We're here to help people. And if I
Mm,
help, right? If we help a person
yeah.
or two every single day, we did our job. Might be this big on the grand scheme of things in the world, but if it helped that one person or two, it means a lot to us.
As a matter of fact, I'll touch on this, and then if you know,
Yes, I
and then
understand.
our last parting words, if we have anything. For example, I just did a video on Recipe Tuesday. It went up, on the 18th. It had to do with old-fashioned fudge. So one of my subscribers took the idea, is going to expand on it, and this person let me know how they're going to do it with the coconut and almonds. They're going to doctor up the fudge. Another subscriber made the recipe, said it was phenomenal, came back and got back with me on the comments. What I found out that I didn't realize, this person said, Steve, did you know that your recipe is very, very similar to the homemade brownie recipe, or the home not brownie, but the homemade fudge recipe that you had on the Hershey's chocolate container can back in the 50s? I didn't know that.
Nice.
Well, I mean, we are talking about a time when, moms did cook at home much, much more than they do now. So, but, you
No.
know, but the woman that told me this, they know who they are, made the recipe, loved it, and the other person is going to expand on it,
So
coconut,
nice. So
almonds.
nice. Oh, love
So
it.
I reached two people, maybe more, I don't know. I more than exceeded my expectation for doing that. That's how
Right.
I.
Right.
All right, so that's pretty much it on my part. I mean, if you got anything you want
I
to, any
just want to
last minute.
thank your viewers and thank you for another nice
Oh,
Saturday
sure.
afternoon. There you go.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Yeah. Anyway, guys, this was great. Be on the lookout for a Recipe Tuesday. It's a recipe that I think you'll like. And since Halloween is coming up, hint, hint, a few days after Recipe Tuesday, this recipe, in a way, kind of in a way, goes along with it. When you view it, you'll get the idea. But it's a very easy recipe that I think all of you will like. So I hope all of you have a great, fantastic rest of your Saturday, a good weekend, and I'll see you back here on Saturday. Bye.